What going YouTube, man? It's your boy D Smalls. I'm coming at you boys with another video, man. And today we're reacting to I use data to find the closest player to Stephen Curry in the entire NBA by my dog Jimmy High Roller dropping another banger. You feel what I'm saying? But if you did click on this video, I truly do appreciate you for watching. You feel what I'm saying? Hope you're having a great, fantastic day. And shout out to my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ for allowing me to be here, allowing y'all to be here, and everything you've done for us. Truly, thank you, Jesus. But with all that being said, man, without further ado, look at video. Oh, dang, I messed up again. Look at video. Go Curry, man.
Off the
You
top
already
of
know
your
what
head,
it is.
of all the active players currently in the NBA, who reminds you most of Steph Curry?
Now, okay,
I'm sure some
before
of the
I
names
say,
that come
before I
to
say what I
mind
gotta
are.
say, hold on. Before he says what he gotta say, who do y'all think it is? I'ma assume Trae Young. Now, the name I really want to say, it's not coming to my head because I don't think Trae Young is my number one option. But I'll say Trae Young. But I don't think that's what
Trae Young, Tyrese Halliburton, Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant if he was 9 inches shorter. Try all you want, but the overwhelming and correct answer is no one. Even as the catalyst to one of the biggest evolutions in basketball history, there is still nobody that is quite like Steph in the NBA today, or ever for that matter. The greatest shooter of all time by a country mile, as devastating off the ball as he is with it. The skills to carve up defenses and score from anywhere, despite being a relatively
Okay, I'm not gonna pause this video live, but I'm sorry, I just gotta get this rant out. Curry is so different, bro. Like, not only is he good on the ball, but we have literally never, ever, ever seen anybody move off the ball and be as effective off the ball, if not more effective off the ball, like Stephen Curry, bro. Like, it's actually crazy. You genuinely have to worry about this man off the ball. Like, genuinely, you always have to make sure and you know where he's at. It's not just like he stands still. It's because he moves so much, bro. If you legit kind of forget about him, he's gonna move somewhere, catch a three, and he's always moving, and he can shoot on the move like it's nothing, bro. Like, just shooting on the move consistently and just running around the court, bro. He's literally just so different in that aspect, because literally nobody ever in NBA history has ever did that, bro. Just running around shooting threes on the run. Like, who does that, bro? And the threes he be hitting is crazy. Like, Curry just built different, bro. You know what I'm saying? I feel like people don't put him in one of the greatest scorers of all time context. Now, am I saying he is? No, that's not what I'm saying. He is the greatest point guard, though. He is top 5 in NBA history, but I'm not saying he's the greatest scorer of all time, but you got to put him in it. Or at least have somewhat his name in it. You feel me?
Unathletic guard. By now, nearly a decade after the long ball took over the NBA, it was assumed that Steph's influence would spawn an entire generation of copycats. And although the game has changed, there's still no one that plays it the way he does. While aimlessly browsing through some stats not too long ago, it came to my attention that a 37-year-old Steph Curry...
I wonder where he gets these video ideas from. I wonder how did all this research, and I wonder how he does all this, bro.
Once again, led the NBA in three-point shooting last season for the 10th time in his career. Still trying to catch up to where Steph has been for the last 10 years.
Bro,
and with each passing season, the reality becoming more painfully obvious that Steph isn't a product of the league's evolution. The league's evolution is a product of him. And as long as Steph can do things that no one else can do...
I can't wait till this next season, man. I'm sorry. I don't care what none of y'all think when the Warriors win the ring. None of y'all think, but...
Be a while before we find a worthy successor. But why is that? In fact, with a game that has become the blueprint for modern-day guards, why has there not been a single player in the NBA who plays like him or can do the things he can do? This series of questions led me down a long and exhausting rabbit hole of what I believe to be the most extensive look into this topic. Who is the most similar player in the NBA today?
And all the resources that people got, that's a great question.
Steph Curry.
And if I pause the video to talk, it's because I don't want to talk over him, because I feel like he might be saying something important, especially with Jimmy High, bro, so I don't want to say nothing. We got to add here, chat.
Today's video is sponsored by DraftKings. Dollars will instant.
Get out of here.
Only on DraftKings Sportsbook.
Yeah. Hey, let me see him, bro. There you go.
How can you accurately compare anyone to one of the most unique players in basketball?
Curry puts up a three.
Bro, hearing that bang, I ain't gonna lie.
Similar player to Steph Curry.
Watching Curry and hearing that bang, bro, especially if you are a fan of the opposing team that has to hear that bang. That is either one of the best feelings you ever have, or one of the worst feelings you ever had, bro. There's no in between. When you hear Curry, when you see Curry shoot and you hear bang, bro, in like a double bang or a triple bang, I ain't gonna lie, brother. That can change your whole mood for the whole day, bro. Or depending on what time it is, maybe even the next day, maybe even the whole week. You know what I'm saying? Whenever I be seeing Curry shooting threes and I hear bang, especially in Oracle Arena when the boys going crazy, or when he was playing Boston, bro, man, oh man, some of the best films I ever had, bro. It's just something about that bang. Like, I can't say like he do, you know what I'm saying? Obviously, but like, it's just something about that. It just do something to you, bro. Like, I don't know. And it doesn't even have to be with Curry, just anybody. But it just more specific with Curry because it happens to him a lot. And, you know, he's just one of the players that he does it to a lot of teams, bro. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of people literally just hate Curry off of that reason.
First instinct would be maybe a long-range sharpshooter, but these comps never quite work. The best three-point shooters in recent history are far too one-dimensional on offense to be compared to Steph. Look for perimeter players that can generate offense like Steph, and you'll find a lot of freak athletes, ISO-heavy guards, and players who aren't willing to run to hell and back like he does every other possession to get a bucket. This 2020 Bleacher Report article cited Mark Price, Pete Maravich, Steve Nash, and Jerry West as the most comparable players to Steph. All of them saw.
Did you just say Jerry West? Mark, bro.
If they hadn't retired decades ago. CraftedNBA.com has a great tool called Doppelgangers, which uses an extensive batch of metrics to find similar players throughout the NBA.
Dang.
But this tool specifically looks at the results of a player's game without including the method in which they got those results, which is an important distinction. For example, Steph and LeBron both averaged the same amount of points last season, but the way they scored those points were wildly different. In our experiment, the method is just as important as the results. And so I decided to take matters into my own hands. And after countless hours of research, metric-based analysis, and data crunching in an attempt to answer this
whenever
question,
things get too complicated, bro, it make my brain hurt, bro.
Almost definitive conclusion on the most similar player to Steph Curry in the NBA today. And the answer may surprise you. First, I had to reduce the entire league down to players who had even an ounce of resemblance to Steph and his game. Floor generals, undersized guards, sharpshooters, off-ball merchants, great scorers, crafty perimeter players, players who love the three ball, and because, why not, his own brother. Eventually, I was able to narrow the list of players included in this experiment to about 75. Of those 75 players, here are the ones that eventually scored the highest in similarity to Steph. Now, how exactly did I quantify similarity throughout this process? Well, first I had to determine the metrics in which I wanted to measure. And here are those
Dennis Schroeder.
Gravity, usage and creation, shot selection, portability, passing, defense, athleticism, dominance, shooting ability, and play style. 10 isolated metrics that factor in each and every aspect of Steph's game. Finding the similarities between him and any other player was the easy part. For example, take passing, which can be measured fairly accurately with passer rating, a metric that measures how frequent, effective, and efficient a player passes the ball. Steph's career passer rating is 6.9. That's pretty good. Jalen Brunson has a passer rating of 7.13. That's even better.
I'm surprised, low-key.
Thompson has a passer rating of 3.48.
And he get the ball, he's shooting. I mean, he ain't bad like MPJ, though. MPJ got 0 passer rating, bro.
That's so good. To quantify just how similar these two players are to Steph in terms of passing, we just need to figure out how much their passer rating deviates from Steph's. In this case, Jalen Brunson's passer rating only deviates by 3.2%, while Klay Thompson's passer rating deviates by 49.5%. This would give Brunson a passing similarity score of 96.8% and Klay Thompson a similarity score of 50.5%. By using this method of measurement, I calculated
I'll be hating when my shorts be doing that when I start sitting down, bro. It be blowing me.
Similarity score of every
not riding enough. I'm talking about like my legs, not like, you know what I'm saying, my you know, nah, bro.
Our experiment across all 10 previously mentioned categories, then I tallied up their score to find the most similar player to Steph. The player with the highest score after evaluating all 10 categories is, of course, the player who shares the most in common with him.
I ain't gonna lie.
The method.
John Morant just made me think about them YB concerts, bro. Them YB concerts, me personally, I ain't gonna go, but them John are going crazy, boy. I ain't gonna lie, twin. Now, it's straight YNs over there, but, man, like, hearing all those YB songs, bro, just seeing, like man, bro. I remember when I was, it first started in 6th grade, I used to listen to YB a lot, but I didn't fully, like, kick in the YB-ness until, like, 7th grade, bro. And then YB's been, like, my top artist for, like, the past however many years, bro. And, like, now people all of a sudden, like, started to realize that YB is nice, bro. You know what I'm saying? Now all of a sudden, people starting to realize it's nice. Now, I try not to listen to him as much solely because I try to listen to more, you know what I'm saying, like, Christian-based music and stuff like that, which obviously I don't be still listening to YB and rap. So obviously I'm not perfect, you know what I'm saying. But anyway, YB hard, so I ain't gonna lie. YB be him, bro. And he got you for any and every situation, any mood. He got you. Now all of a sudden people starting to hop on the YB bandwagon because he's going on tour, and they actually realize how good he is, bro. Nah, bro, YB it this.
See the results. Now the first factor we're going to be taking a look at is Steph's most valuable skill. His shooting ability. In a game where deciding who is the best at anything can be
have calm stuff, but
task. Steph has
completely
removed any room for debate as the greatest shooter of all time. A skill set so valuable that he altered the course of basketball with it. And a skill that we can measure using crafted
people
NBA
start seeing Curry like,
metric.
yeah, hold on, we gotta start doing
it's a
that.
stat that combines shooting percentages with spacing and shot value to find what they describe to be the most accurate shooters in the league on a scale from 1 to 100. For some perspective, no player in NBA history has ever scored a perfect 100 out of 100 in shooting quality for an entire season, except for Steph, who's done it 4 times.
2025, 2024, 2023, and 2016. Dang! 95, 98, 92, 100, 97, 92, 100, 100, 100. 3 seasons in a row? Bro.
Throughout his career, Steph has maintained an average shooting quality of 94.6.
That is
and the most
crazy.
similar player to him in the NBA today in terms of shooting ability is none other than his former Splash bro, Klay Thompson, who has a career average shooting quality of 85.7 and a similarity score of 90.6%, followed closely by Desmond Bane, Peyton Pritchard, Buddy Hield, and Seth Curry. Keep in mind, although I will only be displaying the results of 20 to 30 players per category, each individual score is being factored in and will be revealed at the end. But just as important as Steph's ability to shoot the ball is where he's shooting the ball. 10 years ago, there were 3 players in the entire league who averaged at least 20 points per game with a 3-point attempt rate of at least 40%. Volume scores off of volume threes. A diet that was essentially prohibited unless you were an absolute flamethrower. But thanks to Steph, times have changed.
I remember the games.
Because
I remember how
season,
the game of basketball used to be played. You know what I'm saying? Even back in like the early 2010s, bro. Miami Heat on them and Spurs. I remember them days, boy. Even Thunder too.
There were 24 players around the league who averaged at least 20 a game, while attempting at least 40% of.
Bro, like the fact that Victor's in here is just crazy, bro. Miles Bridges, bro, he be shooting like that? What the heck? What the heck am I missing? I ain't know Miles Bridges be pulling like that.
Their shots from beyond the arc. Steph laying out the roadmap for modern day shooters, with about 15% of his shots consisting of layups, 21% of his shots in the mid-range, and over half of all of his shots throughout his career being 3-pointers. And the most
we love that, man. We love it.
In terms of shot selection, is Tyrese Halliburton, with shooting tendencies that virtually mirror Steph's and a similarity score of 94%, followed by Anthony Simons, Jordan Poole, and Patty Mills. One thing I want to point out here is just how many young players compare well to Steph in this category. Guys who watch Steph at a young age and have skill sets that were more than like...
You know, they're coming into a league where like kind of that's kind of like normalized now, you know what I'm saying? They've been watching Curry and like seeing the game changing, so they're adapting / changing with
influenced by Steph. It makes sense. Which brings up the next category and one of the most indicative measures of similarity from player to player. And that is play style. What role they play on offense, where they find the most value while they're on the court, and their habits both on and off the ball. Now, quantifying a player's play style is tough to do. What do you measure, and how do you measure it? Well, on craftednba.com, within each player's profile, there is a breakdown of their usage by play type. These plays range from ISO possessions, pick and roll as the ball handler and the roll man, the post, off-ball
These are
cuts,
some nice
handoffs,
data that he's
and spot up.
pulling from.
These 8 play types are essentially the 8 major different roles a player can play on any given possession, and we can use them to get some insight into the habits, strengths, and weaknesses of each individual player. In the case of Steph, the 4 most revealing characteristics of his offensive game are ISO possessions, spot-up shooting, possessions coming off of screens, and pick and rolls as the ball handler.
8% ISO, 13% spot up, 17% off screen. Bro, he's off screen? No, okay. I'm thinking of off ball. Never mind. And pick and roll, 26%. Okay.
If we take these 4 play types,
Curry can still fry ISO. There's clips of that. You better do your homework. You better analyze TS. No, I ain't cussing, but you know what I'm saying. If you see them TikToks, man, you know. If you know, then you know.
Search for the player with the most similar usage across all 4, then the player that has the most similar playstyle to Steph is Devin Booker, who has eerily similar usage to Steph across these 4 play types,
bro,
and
these
easily
are some
the highest similarity
score.
score
Like every category is something totally different, dude.
Category of 84.8%, despite not necessarily being a player you would associate with playing like Steph. The next most similar players are Emmanuel Quickly, CJ McCollum, Jordan Clarkson, and Cam Thomas. Bro. For the most part, quick movement shooters who play below the rim.
I ain't surprised at Cam Thomas because he is straight bucket.
Best in set
I'm surprised his ISO is actually not higher, like far higher than that.
Goes to isolation. Play styles that are necessary thanks to our next category, athleticism. Unlike many of the top guards from his era, Derrick Rose, Russell Westbrook, Derrick Rose explosiveness has kept his game for the most part on the ground and away from the basket. According to B-Spark, a metric that uses results from athletic tests such as the ones included in the NBA Combine to determine a player's speed, power, agility, reaction, and quickness, Steph ranks in the 28th percentile in terms of athleticism in the NBA, or at least he was at the time he was drafted.
That's low,
and in
right?
terms of athleticism, the most similar players to Steph in the
75?
NBA today,
okay, that is low, especially for a guard, right?
D'Angelo Russell and Jordan Poole, with nearly identical B-Spark ratings to Steph's and similarity scores of 99.9%.
Luka? Kane? Nah, bro. Kevin? I'm shocked.
By Peyton Pritchard, Luka Doncic, and Cade Cunningham.
I mean,
now our next category has been one of the
they're both
more
not like athletic at all by any means. So I mean, I guess not that surprising.
Rated aspects of Steph's game throughout his career, and that is his defense. Where his athleticism and size fall short, Steph makes up for it on the defensive end with elite IQ, quick hands, and adding over 20 pounds
I
to
guess
his
Steph's
frame
props on
throughout his
defense.
career.
Yeah.
In fact, according to Crafted Defensive Plus Minus, an all-in-one advanced metric that measures how valuable a player is on defense, Steph is actually a net positive on the defensive end. Now, where Steph does struggle a bit is his defensive versatility. A target for switches and mismatches against larger guards and combo players, especially.
So you're telling me Steph is not as weak on defense as, you know what I'm saying, as we proclaim for him to be? Hold on. You better not let me find out Steph is not as weak on defense as we proclaim him to be. Now, obviously, he has been getting better, I ain't gonna lie, over the years on defense. But hold on.
As the league continues to get bigger around the perimeter. Take these 2 metrics, Crafted Defensive Plus Minus and Defensive Versatility, and we can find out how valuable Steph is on defense and which player is most similar to him in this aspect, which in this case is Donovan Mitchell, with a similarity score of 96% on defense, followed by Kyrie Irving, Austin Reeves, and DeJounte Murray. But whatever Steph doesn't do on the defensive end.
Wait. Curry's was plus 0.21, right? He has higher than Austin Reeves, Kyrie, Ja Morant?
He makes up for tenfold as arguably the most valuable offensive player in the history of the league. With his usage and creation, Steph has spent his career as one of the largest offensive generators in the league, both carrying.
Curry might be the biggest offensive threat ever in NBA
playing
history,
within the offense.
Because you gotta think. I mean, yeah, obviously you got MJ, you got Kobe, you got Bron, you got Kevin, you got Harden. You know what I'm saying? You can go down the list. But as in the threat, the biggest offensive threat, baby, give me Stephen Curry. On and off the rock. Yes. It's Curry, bro. You know what I'm saying? And I understand what y'all gonna say. I feel like I already know some of the points and stuff y'all gonna make. And I would make some points, but would make a lot of points, but y'all be here for a minute. But like, you know what I'm saying? Curry, for real, bro. Come on, dude. Come on, bro. Who do you know has to be worried about legit at all times, bro? All times. And he's tiring your best defender out. Because, bro, the amount of stamina this brother has, bro, is just absurd. In this.
And to measure this, we can use 3 different metrics: box creation estimate, offensive load, and usage percentage, where the player most similar to Steph will undoubtedly have to be an ultra-offensive engine who can create opportunities not just for himself, but for his team. So it should be no surprise that when it comes to usage and creation, it is James Harden who is most similar to Steph in the NBA today, with a similarity score of 98.9%, and career metrics that are virtually identical to Steph's across the board. The next most similar players are Damian Lillard, LaMelo Ball, Ja Morant, and Cade Cunningham. Pair Steph's ability to create offense with his shooting, and you have a recipe for his game-breaking quality as a player: his gravity. It doesn't matter where he is or what he's doing. When Steph is on the court, he is a threat from anywhere at any time,
literally
disrupting defenses with and without the ball and forcing them to get
I ain't trying to pause
this
this video no
every
more
movement.
because this
Hence
video
the
is gonna be
term
like 40
gravity,
minutes.
or as B-Ball Index describes it, how much attention and resources a team uses trying to defend a player while on and off the ball. You can see it in action every time you watch him play, as defensive schemes completely fall apart trying to track him around the court, send double teams when he's 30 feet out, and at times completely neglect other players altogether when the Warriors are running options for Steph. It's easy to see, but tough to measure. However, B-Ball Index makes an attempt at quantifying a player's gravity by using a few different metrics like double team rate, shot location, team shot quality, and tracking data with their on-ball and off-ball gravity metrics. Stats that are rated according to percentile relative to the rest of the league, and where Steph has career averages in the 95th percentile in on-ball gravity and nearly the 100th percentile in off-ball gravity.
This brother right here is the GOAT. Yeah, I said it. He's the GOAT.
Making him not only one of the most lethal on-ball offensive threats in the league, but by far the most valuable
basically
off-ball threat in the
gravity
league throughout his career. And among the players we are evaluating, the one with the most similar gravity to Steph is Damian Lillard, with a similarity score of 95.8%, followed by Kevin Durant, Tyler Hero, Cade Cunningham, and Devin Booker. But gravity holds a lot less weight if you aren't a great passer. As the defense collapses, how well can you find opportunities that open up? And despite not playing the traditional point guard role throughout his career, Steph is an excellent passer, particularly in transition, in the pick and roll, and out of double teams.
I wanted to go on a rant right there, but I'm not, bro. I'm not.
A good metric to evaluate passing skill is passer rating. This metric, similar to a few others, is on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being the best possible rating. Now, throughout his career, Steph has had a passer rating of 6.9, and the player most similar to him in this metric is Dennis Schroeder, who has a career passer rating of 6.93 and a similarity score of 99.5%. The next most similar players are DeJounte Murray, Alex Caruso, Brandon Podziemski, and Damian Lillard. In this category, it's not the floor generals, but rather combo guards who are the most similar to Curry. Add all of these traits up, and you'll find why Steph is not just one of the most lethal offensive weapons of all time, but also one of the most portable. Steph has the skill set to thrive in any system around any players. It's one of the reasons why the Warriors have continued to find success throughout his career, despite featuring an array of different players over time. Steph's value is virtually independent of his situation, and there's actually a metric that makes an attempt to measure this adaptability called portability. This metric collects data like passer rating, shooting ability, ball dominance, and usage, as well as defensive versatility, and calculates how portable a player is.
Who's coming up with all these metrics, bro? Like, my brain is low-key starting to hurt. Like, trying to, grasp all this.
In other words, how well would a player
brain is starting
if you
to hurt
him into a team with 14 random players? This metric also being on a scale from 1 to 10. Steph has a career portability rating of 9.18, one of the highest in NBA history. And the most similar player to Steph in this regard is Mike Conley, who has the same exact career portability rating as Steph with 9.18, 100% similarity.
The first 100% of the video.
Tyrese Halliburton, and Jalen Williams.
Desmond Bane.
Which brings up our last and most polarizing category,
Mike Conley,
dominance. How good at basketball Steph is. A player can shoot.
You better bring up Shaquille O'Neal.
Steph, move the ball
Oh,
like
he's not
Steph,
in
play
the
the
league,
same
I guess.
position as him, but if they aren't dominating games like him, how similar to Steph Curry can they possibly be?
Facts.
And to measure dominance, instead of looking at accolades or accomplishments, we are going to look at purely how great they have been in their time in the NBA through the lens of an advanced metric, crafted plus minus. Now, this metric is an aggregate of 10 other advanced metrics.
Bro,
it's
I don't even know
essentially
what
an
half this
all-in-one
means.
of all the all-in-ones.
What the heck is
It's
D
just what we're
LeBron?
looking for. And Steph's career crafted plus minus is 6.45, the 8th highest in NBA history. The closest player to Steph within our player pool in terms of dominance is Chris Paul, with a career craft
Chris Paul. Don't get me wrong. Like Chris Paul used to be dominant, but
plus minus of 6.59 and a similarity score of 98%.
where LeBron at? Kevin Durant. Where LeBron at though?
Followed by James Harden, Kevin Durant, and
hold
Luka
on, I ain't gonna lie,
Doncic. And
this
with
threw me
that,
off.
we have now
Hold on.
assessed all 55 players across all 10 categories. A process of research and
What?
number crunching that
I gotta
took me
see
far
LeBron.
longer than I'm willing to admit. But it
I
was
mean,
all
LeBron
worth
was
it,
single-handedly
because
carrying the whole organization. So
where Steph remains a unicorn, I think with very high accuracy, I have narrowed the search for the most Steph-like player down to one. After scanning a field of 75 potential matches
if he says nobody, bro, I'm losing.
across 10 different categories and dozens of metrics, the most similar player to Steph Curry in the NBA today is Damian Lillard, which as a Blazer
I should have said Damian Lillard at the beginning of the video. Okay, that makes sense, bro. I'm fine with that. That makes sense, bro.
and that watched
That makes. Oh, hold on, my computer just froze. I'm sorry. Won't happen again. Okay, that actually makes a whole lot of sense. Damian Lillard. I feel bad whenever people call Dame like a Walmart Curry, or like they kind of compare Curry and like trying to talk down
Lillard,
to
which
him. I kinda
as
feel
a
bad.
Blazers fan that
Dame is-
watched this man for over a decade completely adds up. In the end, Dame finished with an average similarity score of 82.71% across all 10 categories, finishing just ahead of James Harden, Kyrie Irving, and Kevin Durant.
Kevin, I'm
All
surprised
names
Kevin
that
Durant's
mix
that
up,
close. To be honest, Kevin.
but for completely
Durant.
different reasons. Although there is truly no one like Steph in the NBA,
Literally
both past
nobody.
and present, Damian Lillard is about as close as you're gonna get on the stat sheet, the eye test, and in skill
true.
set.
Okay,
And if we look at
okay.
the results
I'm fine
from
with
this
that. I'll live with
experiment,
that.
you
That's
can
true.
really get a full
Shout out Jimmy
scope
Howard
of
for
all
bringing
of
out
these
the facts.
similarities, especially in gravity, passing, usage and creation, and shooting ability. The only categories he didn't score well in were dominance and play style, which makes sense.
Wait, what was his dominance?
As great as the only categories he didn't score well in were
68%
up on
different.
everyone in the player pool in this department outside of Chris Paul, Harden, Durant, and Luka. And in terms of play style, Dame works in isolation much more than Steph does.
Yeah.
Some of this can be attributed to Dame's superior athleticism. You'll never see Steph competing in
size
dunk
so nasty,
contests,
boy.
but as
What
his
a
career has
wonderful-
progressed and his explosiveness has declined, their games have become more similar with time. Lillard now less reliant on his athleticism as his skill set has gotten deeper and his range much
Bag,
further.
boy.
Dame also prefers
Bag
to
one
initiate
deep.
offense through pick and rolls as opposed to Steph, who will initiate the offense but works more off the ball during these actions to get open for a shot later in possessions. Tendencies that bring out the biggest differences visibly when you watch them play. But outside of these few differences, their games are strikingly similar in comparison to other players around the
Okay.
league. When I saw the results of this experiment, I couldn't help but to think of
W
one
video,
moment during
man.
the 2021 All-Star Game, when Steph and Dame were going back and forth
remember
trading
that.
shots from half court. If there is one man who can go blow for blow with the greatest shooter of all time from 40 feet out, it's Damian
It's
Lillard, a player who's hit so
Dame
many clutch bombs, he has a celebration for it. And although one of Steph's superpowers is his off-ball brilliance, a clearer look into their similarities comes in moments when Steph really leans into his abilities to take players off the dribble and create his own shots. The key to their similarities being that they are both two of the greatest shooters of all time, but they aren't just shooters. They're offensive machines, where most players who are capable of
I
shooting
could watch.
at an
I, ain't gonna lie,
ultra
I used to legit study. I studied Curry too. But I used to legit study and watch Damian Lillard, bro. Like for real. Like that was a person I was lucky trying to play. Like for real.
tend
For
to
real.
neglect
Study,
alternative
like,
scoring
a
opportunities.
lot. I used to
Steph
like watch
and
him
Dame,
a
although
lot.
both
I'm
being
talking about
relatively
a lot,
undersized,
bro, a
are
lot.
incredible at getting inside, collapsing defenses, and scoring
Ankle
around the
brace,
rim,
Curry.
as well as creating open
One
looks
ankle
for their
brace.
teammates.
Oh my gosh.
Very rarely do you get a player who is just as efficient and willing to score from inside 6 feet as he is
Dame should've
from
won a ring,
26
bro.
feet.
I want to
And
pause
almost
the video and go
never
another
do you
ram,
see a
but I
player
ain't
that
trying
can
to
do
make
both
this John
at historic
any longer
levels.
than it is.
I do think
Not
over
because
the
I don't want to, but for y'all's sake.
Steph has essentially market-corrected Lillard. Everything Dame can do outside of maybe ISO, Steph can do better. For years, I watched defenses break their brains trying to figure out how to stop a guy with a hair trigger and 35 feet of range. And I couldn't help but to notice there's only one other guy in the league that was capable of the same thing. Now, here are the full results from this experiment, with the 75 total players involved condensed to the 55 with the highest
LeBron
scores. And there's a few interesting things going on here. First, the top 3 finishers
Well, I
are
don't think
all
LeBron's in
guards
here.
from the same era as Steph: Lillard, Harden, and Kyrie. All products of their era, playing a similar brand of basketball throughout their careers, even over younger players who shaped their game around Steph's. Kevin Durant, a 7-foot small forward, finished in 4th. The only
Which-
7-footer in the history of basketball that you could legitimately compare to Stephen Curry. But
Which
some
is
surprising
low-key
names
crazy, like thinking about like comparing Kevin Durant to Stephen Curry. That's
high
crazy.
were
man.
Fred VanVleet, Emmanuel
But I mean,
Quickley, and
going off of
Desmond
everything
Bane,
provided,
who
it
all
makes
finished
sense.
in the top 10 while sharing different things in common with Steph. I also want to point out that Seth Curry, the man's own brother, finished in 42nd. Among the younger guys in the league, it was Tyrese Halliburton who had the most in common with Steph, finishing in 5th, followed by LaMelo Ball, Cade Cunningham, and Anthony Edwards. For the most part, it is the highly skilled and versatile perimeter players that have the most in common with Steph.
At
even
the
if
end, I mean, like from like 55 and like this area, it makes sense. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Emmanuel Quickly, I'm surprised with that too.
aesthetically, they don't necessarily look similar on the court. Players who are great shooters, create a lot of offense, have high gravity both on and off the ball, are about average defensively, and aren't freak athletes. Regardless of the way it looks, there are many parallels in the games of the most elite guards around the league, and Kevin Durant. And it's their abilities that lead them to a style of play that is similar to Steph's in one way or another. So, there you have it.
I'm happy with the
In
results,
case you were
though. I'm
wondering
happy with
who
all the
exactly
info we
is
got,
the
man.
most
Y'all
similar
let me know what
player
y'all
to
think about
Steph
this
Curry,
video, man.
the answer is Damian Lillard. But let me know what you think. Was the method used to determine our outcome effective, or
I think
are
it
there
was.
other metrics out there that could lead us to a more accurate
I think it was.
conclusion? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And as always, until next time.
Dang, man, what a banger by my dog Jimmy High Roller, man. Now, if you did stay this long to the end of the video, man, I truly do appreciate you for watching, because this Sean's, 32 minutes and 18 seconds on counting. I truly do love y'all. Appreciate you for real, man. And if you have not subbed up to the channel yet, please subscribe, man. Please subscribe, or lady. That would be highly appreciated. And if you do want to become a member of the channel, though, it will be linked down in the description below. But with all that being said, man, without further ado, I will see y'all young boys in the next one, man. Y'all have a blessed day in Jesus' name. I just John.